All right, welcome to another segment of Good Vibes. I'm Martin Falls, and our guest, of course, will be Debbie Cox-DeNova, our transformation coach. I was thinking about pushing this show back to next week, but since it's about procrastination, we had to do it this week. Right, Debbie?
Right. That's what we're talking about today.
Well, this is cool because, woo, every boss's pet peeve, every wife's sometimes pet peeve. Mm-hmm. Sometimes the husband is trying to get the wife to take care of stuff. Mm-hmm. Procrastination is probably an ignition for a lot of problems, isn't it?
It really is. It's a human problem, whether we're a child or, an adult, whether we're running a business or, an employee. It is a human problem. We put off things even when we know that doing those things would be good for us. Mm-hmm. And there's a misconception about this, which is that it's a time management issue. So if you go and you look for procrastination hacks or tips, you're going to see a lot about time blocking and strategies for actually organizing your time. But what science is telling us is it's actually not a time management issue. It's not even a matter of not being productive, because we can be quite productive when we're avoiding the thing we're supposed to be doing, right? We're organizing cabinets, we're cleaning our desk. All of these things have productive use. So a lot of people are really productive procrastinators. What it actually is, it's an emotional regulation issue, because we procrastinate because there is a firing up of the amygdala. Remember, the amygdala is the threat detection center of the brain that is telling us basically that we need to avoid the experience of what we're going to be doing for one reason or another, okay? So we have fight, flight, or freeze. This is the freeze response, okay? So for example, we might be trying to avoid the boredom of something, or we might be avoiding, the discomfort of possibly failing. So what will happen is, and there's a whole bunch of science around the cognition process that happens when it comes to self-blaming and putting ourselves down and thinking, well, it's pointless for me to even try because it's probably not going to work out anyway. It's a self-defeating loop, because what happens is if you're in the freeze response and you avoid, what happens is you feel relief. Right? So if I'm avoiding the thing I'm supposed to be doing, whether it's exercising or whatever it is, yes, there's a punishment thing that happens with it. But there's also a temporary relief. And our brains, for whatever reason, especially procrastinators, are hardwired to prioritize what's happening now versus what's happening in the future. And it's even been shown that in people who procrastinate a lot, they actually think of the person, there's actually like a disconnect between the person they will be in the future versus who they are now. So it feels like the discomfort's going to have to be, worried about by some other person in the future. And of course that keeps pushing over and over, and it ends up being something that follows you forever.
I would imagine in different business. See, we're in the TV business. Every day is a deadline.
Yeah.
Every day. I'm sure heart surgeons, every day is a deadline.
Yeah.
Hospitals, every day is a deadline. If you own other businesses that are a little more leisure or whatever, maybe not. But so it depends on where you work and what you're doing and how you have to get it out.
Yeah, really. And look, the reality is, this is what's happening on the inside of us, is that if we are not at first regulating what's happening on the inside, so we're not practicing interoception, where we're looking in, making sure we're okay on the internal landscape, it's very difficult for us to do anything effectively on the external. We prioritize what's happening here, right? So we have to learn how to emotionally regulate around this freeze response that is procrastination. It's about sort of managing that, because nature has both reward systems like serotonin and dopamine, but it also has punishment systems. So there is a peptide called tachykinin that is released in organisms as simple as flies, mice, all the way up to humans on the phylogenetic scale, right? So tachykinin is not something that is good for us. It actually will create anxiety, stress, depression, right? And it's nature's punishment system. It basically says, like, so when we feel that we're not on the right track, if we're not doing the right thing, tachykinin will be released. It causes extreme irritability and agitation. It suppresses our immune system. It's not good, right? And then there's a part of the brain called the habenula that is activated, and it will actually mess with our blood sugar. It, again, suppresses our immune system. Whenever we perceive, and this is a self-perception thing, that we're not on the right path, So knowing that it's self-perception, it's subjective. It's not a subjective thing. Like, it is a subjective thing, not an objective thing. That we're either on the right track or we're off the right track, right? And when we're on, nature pumps out that dopamine and serotonin, and there's that push-pull between serotonin and dopamine to tell you to keep going. You see possibility in the future. And when you're on the wrong path, what happens is that your immune system comes down, you become depressed. The habinula's job literally is depression and it's, to elicit experience of disappointment and depression, so that you're off track. So the key to getting back on track is really emotional regulation versus trying to employ a lot of different strategies that you're not going to end up doing anyway because you're already in that cycle.
And people will tell you that procrastinate. When they really get down to it and attack it and make it happen, they feel better.
They do.
And while you were talking, I was just thinking about bees. If bees decided to take a day off, the queen would die.
Yeah.
Bees can't take a day off.
Exactly.
They don't take any time off.
Yeah.
So maybe we could learn from the bees.
We can definitely learn from the bees.
All right. With that said, we're going to take a break. Great topic. So if you're a boss, if you're a worker, if you're whatever, you might want to tune into this one, because this is one of those things. What's the old saying? Don't put off today tomorrow what you could do today.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and we're talking about procrastination, and I was listening on the first segment. I imagine everybody's approach is a little different to a task. And some people get real irritable. Like Joni's watching this show right now, she dumps it down. Task. She's writing everything down, checking all boxes. And if it doesn't get accomplished, she's frustrated.
Yeah.
Other people put everything off till the end.
Yeah.
And on the last day, they cram. They did it in college for test.
Exactly.
Some people study for a month for the test. Depends on how you approach it.
And it goes back to that present bias, right? So the people who can delay reward and or associate reward with the experience, the process, because really that's what it's about. Unlike bees, we have this reasoning mind of ours that kind of just has us evaluating what do we need to do in this moment versus another. And of course, we talked about the dopamine system being easily hijacked whenever it comes to our phones, and really easy, like junk food, almost mental junk food, that can take our attention away and make us feel a feeling of relief and feel good in the moment. And so that procrastination it's almost a reward, it's almost villainous in a way, because you're getting rewarded for avoiding the thing that is actually ultimately going to be better for you. So it's really important, first of all, to have compassion for the experience of procrastination. The last thing we need is more shame and self-beat up, because it actually create that spiral even more. So the thing to think about then is, what's the wall? There's a place within yourself where when you think about the task that you want to do, you get uncomfortable. Okay, it could be literally like the idea of waking up in the morning and putting on your shoes and going outside in uncomfortable temperatures. That idea could be so uncomfortable to you that is the thing that your brain is trying to avoid. So it's important to identify what is the wall, and then it's important for us to visualize. We've talked about that before, but to visualize the right things. So you want whatever outcomes from exercise, for example. Could be bigger biceps. It could be you want to lose weight. It could be that you just want to be a healthier person and have a stronger heart. The action steps to getting there are continuous and sometimes monotonous exercise. And so if you know within yourself that the wall for you is waking up early, the discomfort at getting out of bed, and also getting outside into the cold temperatures, the thing to do is start to actually emotionally create a different association to those experiences there. So you're actually going to picture yourself waking up in the morning, and I mean, when you visualize this, right, you're actually going to close your eyes and visualize the discomfort of waking up, going, oh, I don't want to, it's cold outside, the feeling of wanting to snuggle in your bed, and then actually imagine yourself getting out of bed, getting uncomfortable, putting your shoes on, walking out into the temperature and being like, oh, but you also did it. Now, once you created that pathway within yourself, because remember, it's right here first, and then the important thing is, remember we talked about the motivation cycle, right? It starts with action, then reward, and then motivation. So people wait for motivation, and that's not the way to go. You actually go in real life, get out of bed, put your shoes on, walk outside. Now here's what's important. You need a reward. and the reward needs to be internal. Once again, it's about giving yourself that gratitude. Here's what happens when you put gratitude, like, oh, I did it, right? Is that you are kicking that serotonin system in, right? Which again is going to get the dopamine going, right? So it's that push-pull between serotonin and dopamine. It takes 10 seconds, and it is so worth it. All of the most successful people in the world actually apply this in some way, shape, or form. It's a moment of like,
I agree.
I did it, and then the dopamine system kicks in, and you want to do more.
Because
Okay?
I'll tell you, when I'm working on a construction project, and you're going,
Yeah.
my friends laugh because when I'm finished, I always pull up a chair and sit down and watch it
Yeah.
and look at it. And they go, you just admiring it. No, I'm taking gratification of what I just did.
So important. And it's like some people have gratitude linked up with settling for the way it is. It actually isn't that. It's actually, instead of settling, it's about possibility. Because remember what we talked about, your brain is going to prioritize the internal landscape. Once you tell your body and your brain everything is fine, and actually it's more than fine, I appreciate what's happening right now. Now your brain kind of clicks in, okay, what are possibilities? It becomes more able to move forward with whatever it is that you want to do. So it's sort of a game that you play with yourself. Instead of being reflexive to life, it's about being deliberate in life wherever you possibly can.
Here's another point I was thinking about. I literally, and I'm not saying this to brag, they got people just like me who had 30 or 40 things to do a day. So I don't think I procrastinate, but I prioritize mentally whatever I feel like I have to do that day, which means if I get 20 of the 30 done, 10 are going to be in the back burner. It's not because I'm putting them off, it's because those other 20 took priority. Maybe there's a show that need to be edited that plays tomorrow. Maybe there's a lock on the back door of the office that needs to be fixed so somebody can just walk in.
Yeah.
So mentally, I'm prioritizing, but that could be perceived as procrastinating.
Yeah, absolutely. And so remember, this is a subjective thing too. So you at home, you might be wondering like, well, how do I know if I'm procrastinating versus prioritizing what is the best for me, right? Pay attention to the disturbance in your piece. Know this, that if on the inside, your value system is guiding you to, for example, start the writing process, because you know the writing process is what's going to get you to where you want to go. Maybe you're writing a book, right? And so every day it's important that you actually be in the writing process. If you're not doing that, and instead you're being productive in other ways, you'll still have a disturbance in your piece, and that will mean that the tachykinin is flowing. That will mean that you are actually getting those pro-depressive systems kicking off in your brain, and you're headed in the wrong direction. So it is a subjective thing. Either you're going to either change your values or you're going to change your activities to match the values. It's really important that you just
That's a
operate
great show.
accordingly.
And for all you people out there procrastinating, get off your butts and do something.
Do it.
All right. Thank you, Deborah. We appreciate it.
Welcome.
All right. We're going to take a short break. We have a lot more here on HTV. Don't forget Facebook and YouTube to catch all of our great shows. We'll see you around the corner.